that Daemon will not be a very good king. Like he'd be kind of like Robert. He'd be pretty much exactly like Robert.
He'd be like Stalin. Are you kidding me?
He'd be like Robert mixed with
the murderers.
It'd be Robert's indulgence mixed with Joffrey's a bit with Joffrey's like
insanity,
tyranny. Welcome back, guys, to the Shade Cinema podcast. I'm Chris, and this is Panos and Nishan. They have returned. Panos has returned since eating ratatouille. How was that ratatouille, by the way?
Fucking scrumptious.
That's too easy.
Anyways, so we're going to today talk about House of the Dragon. As you can see, we have the Fire and Blood book brought by Mr. Panos here.
Ballsy.
But before we actually do get started, I want to ask you guys to leave a like and subscribe. I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Ballsy.
So we're going to start off with a bit of a dialogue about Viserys. We're going to talk a lot about the characters and their motivations and whether or not they were doing the right things during the show, which is a great show. And the first question I have is, was King Viserys a good king? By good, I mean not like whether or not he was like, merciful or whatever. I mean like, was he a good governor? Or was he a good statesman?
I'll let you start with that.
All right. I think he could have been a lot firmer in some instances. Honestly, if he had...
What do you mean by that?
I'm gonna cry.
Go ahead.
I fucking hate this sound effect every time. Okay, I just think if he was a little firmer, like as he was in his final moment, right? Like you see how he just... I mean, he's at the end of his rope, basically at the end of episode 8. So that whole scene that he had with Vaemond Valerian, so Corlys's brother, right? So when he's going up to the throne, and obviously that's like a huge emotional moment as well. But I think that demonstrated that he had the capability to be firm about some things. So I just wish that he had carried that energy of firmness about the line of succession from way earlier on. And he did kind of, I mean, it was in his personality to be peaceful and generous and kind and kind of lax on things. But there were moments where he was firm, like when he dismissed Otto Hightower the first time around as Hand of the King and replaced him with the strong guy, Lionel Strong, right? He was basically like, stop grabbing for power, stop trying to put your grandson on the throne. He never saw it as like, oh, I'm putting the rightful king, by tradition or whatever. Viserys knew the guy's just taking advantage of the fact that, oh, I groomed my daughter to rope you in, produce an heir, and then I can put basically someone with Hightower blood on the throne. Yeah. That's kind of how he saw it. So like if Viserys had more instances where he was firm, like in those moments. Yeah. Yeah. But as far as like overall, was he a good ruler? I like 6.5 out of 10, probably.
It's a pretty fair rating.
You could have worse. I mean, mercy's a big thing. The fact that you can govern and kind of keep the realm together as he did while being peaceful and merciful like that, I think he should be commended for that.
So you think he should be commended for maintaining peace and maintaining order in his realm?
Yeah. I mean, granted, some of the decisions he made led to that falling apart the minute he's out of the picture. But a lot of it's unaccounted for because he got sick. This is some things you just can't foresee. He kicked the bucket a lot earlier probably than he would have liked to.
How old was he by the time of his death? Do you know?
In the book, I think he was 50 something.
Oh shit! So
no, but in the show he deteriorates fast. I think he's in his 50s when he passes, but he looks like a geezer.
Isn't he because he cuts his finger on the Iron Throne?
But that was the second instance. In the first episode, we see he already has something growing on his back because he got a cut on his back from the Iron Throne. And then in the first episode, he cuts his finger again. And then from the finger on, it continues to get worse.
Yeah. And I'll say
So, but why is that the case? Why is it the case where the king of Westeros can get cut like that on the Iron Throne?
I think it's metaphor.
Yeah. So in the books, and it's metaphor, and there's also established lore. So okay. And I'm sure in the first show, Game of Thrones, also there's lines about it. There's lines of dialogue about it. But the idea is, if a ruler sits the Iron Throne and it cuts them, the throne is rejecting them.
They're
But
not-
like, but
or
what is
like
it-
they're
what-
not
what do you
strong
mean by
enough
that?
to be sitting on the throne.
Okay, so in that case, like Viserys is not strong enough according to the legend of what the throne is.
Yeah,
but
so
then,
like
but then that means that Joffrey was strong enough because they never cut him.
right, like he was cruel, he was a douche. It doesn't mean that they should be on the throne, but the idea is just like that person's like firm and strong enough to be a ruler.
Oh, okay,
Joffrey he was a fucking psychopath, but like
he was firm in his belief.
he was definitely like strong enough to be a king, like that's for sure. Not a good one, but
But then it never cut Tommen.
it never cut Tom. Yeah,
Tommen
well,
never sat on it, I think, or he sat on it once. Or
From what we saw in the show, yes. Like we only saw Tommen sit like maybe 2-3 times on the show.
yeah, on the show. Yeah.
Like on the Iron Throne itself, but like we never actually saw. I don't like he didn't sit on it for very long. How long was Tommen's reign?
very short.
I don't think it made it.
Bruh.
A year.
He-
Did it make it a year?
No,
I mean, he jumped off.
he made a really nice king's landing on the floor.
You know what's funny? That's the same window that fucking Aegon.
That
was
Aegon
jerking-
jerks off at him.
Yeah, but I wanted to say something. You brought a interesting point about Viserys. As he grew weaker physically, I think that's when he became firmest in his decisions.
in the show.
Yeah, notice how he's like at his weakest. Yeah,
What?
yeah. Like I was gonna finish off my point with like that you're asking about the throne cutting him. Like,
yeah.
exactly. Like when he's at his physically weakest and he's crawling up the steps and he needs his brother's
Okay.
help, he sits there and he doesn't get cut once.
Because he's firm.
And
in his
he's
belief.
in the prime of his physical health, and that's when he gets cut. It's kind of
Ah, shit.
interesting, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's ready to cut off the guy's tongue just because he ruined his daughter's name
Yeah.
publicly.
Yeah.
He can keep his tongue. Oh, that was a fucking yeah.
Oh, but then he gets his fucking head sliced off. You're like,
Did they stitch it back up together? Poor sisters.
Beetlejuice.
Those sisters have seen so much shit on that in the Red Keep.
bro, they don't give a fuck. They're like,
The Silent Sister.
they're kind of
yeah.
like Sansa.
Yeah,
Like
I think that's a big thing about this show especially. It's like, and it definitely plays off the Sansa arc. Is like you really see how, like, you know,
The innocents
how
get-
big your sex, like how big of a role your sex plays in this world, and like you actually see like you know rather realistic repercussions of it.
Yeah.
It sucks because then you have like Rhaenyra, let's say, fighting against it, and then you have someone like Alicent who kind of like caves to it eventually, and it's tragic both ways.
By
yeah.
by fighting caves, you mean like the fight, like Rhaenyra fights the system while Alicent kind of caves into it.
Yeah, like Rhaenyra is very insistent on maintaining the fact that I was named the heir. It doesn't matter, like, you know, what I have under my belt. I am the ruler, right? And then you have Alicent, who's kind of just like she's just, even though it's kind of against her will, she just keeps submitting to the whim of all the powerful men around her.
But
you know,
yeah.
like at a point, she's the most powerful person in the realm. She's the queen. She's the queen dowager, the king's dead, and there hasn't been a coronation for a new ruler. She's stronger than the hand of the king, I think, as queen.
Yeah.
She might have maybe
Okay.
not want it at first, but she sure as hell enjoys it when she has the power. You know, like her father put her there, yes, but like now she's up there at the same level as the king, and
Yeah, but
maybe
even then,
more powerful than
she
her
still
own father.
I become more powerful than any Jedi.
Yeah, but you see how, like, even then, she still caves to, like, the council's decision, you know? Like, she walks into that room after Viserys is dead, right? In, like, the
But
ninth
she still
episode.
puts it back in their face. She doesn't.
She
just
throws it in her
take
face, but she still goes along with it, though, eventually, anyway.
She
It's
ends up
kind of my point.
because she ends up accepting it because she understands the risk and the danger, and her father is like whispering poison in her ears. But it's understandable because Rhaenyra is a threat to their optimal coronation projects, whatever, you know. So it does make sense that she eventually caves in, but you see her fight back at least a little bit.
Nishan, what do you think? What do you think? Was Viserys a good king?
I think in his own mind, he did what was right, and he does end up dying and like being named Viserys the Peaceful because no wars broke out. And like you said, maybe if he had been a bit more indulgent in violence, maybe he could have prevented other greater wars to come. I don't know which ones are coming, but I know there's going to be a huge bloodbath eventually. And but I guess at first he was blind, and like we said earlier, when he was physically stronger, like his will was, how can I say it? It wasn't as sharp.
Yeah.
His I don't have the right word for it, but
Like he didn't have as much willpower.
yeah, he was most of the time being
He's less
manipulated
firm.
by Otto. You know, Otto was always there, whispering stuff in his ears, like guiding him. But at the end of the day, he still took his own decisions. Like we see it with the scene where he's blasting Daemon in the court. Well, alone with only the Kingsguard, but no one else is there to
The
hear.
floor scene.
Yeah, the floor scene.
Damon's on the floor and he just spends like they have like a whole like fucking like 5 minutes just chatting. You know,
But
it's
he
like,
gives him shit, you know. Like he gives him shit, but it's not like because
What doth he say about
he
your maidenhood?
accepted what Otto is saying. It's more like, look, this is what I have to deal with just to have you around. You know, all of these people are trash talking you constantly, but I still defend you. So to answer, yes, he is a good king. He does play his moves well, but at the same time, he does have a certain blind spot for his hand. And later on, he rectifies that mistake.
He has a blind spot for the people he trusts.
In a way.
Yeah.
And like with Daemon too, you know, he put him at the city watch.
Yeah.
Without considering his
Like
mental
or his
craziness, you know?
ambitions. Like this is gonna sound, you know, like, oh, look at you, you know, like, right? But I started reading like 48 Laws of Power. I'm at law like 18 or 19 recently, and one of the laws was like, don't have your friends be working for you, because when you have your friends work for you, they often get very comfortable in those positions. And when they get comfortable in those positions, they often tend to like want more and more power. And that's kind of what happened with Otto. Maybe Otto Hightower was like a very good friend of Viserys for a long time. And Viserys appointed him because like, oh, he's a very good friend. But then it turns out that Otto wanted more and more power. And eventually he became the strongest man in Westeros.
But didn't he call him out on the fact that the previous hand didn't last long, and then he was kind of suspecting Otto had something to do with that the other hand's death?
Yeah, like it was basically so the old king Jaehaerys,
Yeah.
he died old by like Westeros standards, and Otto Hightower was his last hand. So like that guy cycled through like I think like 6-7 hands of the king, but like Otto Hightower was the last one.
Okay.
The old king passes. The crown moves on to Viserys.
Yeah.
So he stays on as Hand of the King. I think the thing that Viserys was roasting him about was Viserys' father was named heir.
Yeah.
Balon the Brave, I think, was the name. Like that's the dialogue where he's firing Otto. Is like he kind of accuses Otto in a weird way, like
Of killing a Balon.
of like kind of like poisoning his father or something. Like basically he says like, oh, the old king's regular, like, you know, his eldest son passed away, so my father gets named heir. Your Hand of the King recently promoted to Hand of the King, and 5 days later, my dad's poisoned. And then shortly thereafter, not too long after that, after I'm named heir, you know, the old king passes. I don't know, like he just like it was just a lot of mounting suspicion of just Otto's like ulterior motives.
Yeah.
Conspiracies.
You know,
A
I
lot
think it's interesting though. You ask if he's like we've been talking about, like if he should have been firm in his own convictions. It's like there's one piece of dialogue. It's like he's raging at Rhaenyra publicly. It's the one time he actually gets pissed at her publicly, and he says,
During the hunt.
Yeah.
yeah, and then he says like something like he keeps trying to find suitors for her, and she keeps rejecting it. And she says, I don't want this, I don't want that. You know, like, you know, petty, like, you know,
Teenager.
child father things. Yeah. And then he blasts her, and he says like, even I don't exist above tradition and duty. And I think that dictated a lot of his early reign. Is he thought like, my duty as king is, I have to be keeping everybody happy. I have to keep the peace. I have to do this. I have to do that. Some things like he can't be firm on, because otherwise taking a stance will make things worse in his eyes. And there's that whole thing with the prophecy thing, which that's a whole other can of worms, right?
Yeah.
Where he thinks he has to keep the 7 kingdoms together to fight the White Walkers.
The
But
song,
I think he
the
wanted
song of
also
Ice and Fire.
to keep a Targaryen on the throne. That
Yeah,
mostly the most
because it was supposed to be
important
it was supposed to be a Targaryen named Aegon, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
No, in the prophecy, there's no name.
No,
it's
it's
just that
just
he
a-
has
It
a
comes from their
dream.
line.
Oh, it's Aegon's dream.
Yeah,
I thought it
Aegon's-
had to. It was because the guy's name was Aegon.
Yeah, the Conqueror's name is Aegon.
and it happens.
It's Aegon the Conqueror. He like
Yeah.
basically they're trying to add this dimension of like, oh, maybe the Targaryens conquered because of his dream, like to save the world, kind of thing.
Okay.
They're thinking like, oh, what if they invaded and they conquered because, like, they think that they're the only ones who can keep all these great powers united under one banner, so as to save the world when the walkers come down.
Okay.
It's interesting too because like it's Aegon's dream about the chosen one, Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one,
You are
saving
the
them,
chosen one.
saving them against the White Walkers, and it happens that Jon Snow's real name is Aegon as well. So I don't know if that was
Sixth of his name.
it. You sure it's 6?
Sixth of his name. That's what he said, and that's what
It's sixth.
Samuel said in the show
Oh yeah.
in this 8th season.
Well,
Yeah.
it's interesting that it ends up being another Aegon who fulfills the dream many years later. But I don't know if the
I mean, no, it's not. It's technically not Aegon. It was Arya.
that's the shitty part. You know,
Okay, we'll
I
get
mean, sure, technically, okay, you could say the killing blow, but it is.
It was him who united the realms
Yeah.
together. But even then, you can't even argue that because not everyone from every realm came because Cersei said, fuck you.
Yeah, look, I don't think we should take season 8 as like the
actual ending. yeah.
benchmark.
I
I
think-
think they're gonna expand more on it in the Jon Snow spin-off.
Yeah.
That
Can't
they're
wait for
gonna
that,
do.
though.
So
I think that's the only
we
reason.
won't talk about it season 8.
Shame.
Oh, I love that. That's that Mordain bitch.
Yeah.
I love her. She was so.
Oh, it's from my computer, my bad.
But what do you think, Chris? Like, what do you think about Viserys's rulership?
I think Viserys is like a basic bitch king. He did nothing during his reign. He did nothing. Like, what did he do? Yeah, he kept the peace, but like, I get that that's better than war. But isn't the whole like? Here's a question. Another question I just came up with. Like, what is Viserys' legacy? What does he leave behind?
His legacy is the Dance of the Dragons. That's the sad part.
But yeah, that's the thing. So if a king is only as good as his legacy, as what he leaves behind, right? So for example, Robert was not a very good king. Like Bobby B, I'm sorry to say, he's not a very good king.
No, he's not.
But his exploits.
Sure.
Were
He
grand.
had amazing ways of like he had a great journey to the throne, becoming king. But like once he became king, he didn't have anything to do because he was a warrior. Ultimately, he could have given that crown to someone else, or maybe he should have.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like he wasn't a good king. Like I wouldn't say he was a good king, Viserys, because he didn't do too much to really care much about the realms themselves. He just wanted to keep everything together, but keep everything on a like to the status quo as to what it was. It was a prosperous time for sure, but it was still like
Except for the children fighting in this.
yeah, like obviously, like, but he didn't do anything to actually properly change the society and the system around him.
I think it's because he was obsessed with prophecy. That was his downfall.
Yeah, and not only that, it's like he realized a bit too late what was going to be his legacy.
Yeah.
So he,
I mean,
he
but
did
it-
question.
Fucked him up.
Sorry, he did also question himself with Otto. I think with the Strong. He was asking, "What will they think of me after I'm gone?"
Yeah. Like,
He
what
did
would they call me? Like, what stories will they write about me?
What have I
Commodus
done?
the Merciful.
I thought of you. But yeah, he did, like the fact that he's asking himself that is already a big sign that he feels that he should have done something more. Maybe he didn't
Yeah.
for like destiny reasons, but in his heart he felt like something was missing.
Yeah. So for example, let's look at some of the greatest emperors in history. Let's look at like Augustus Caesar or Julius Caesar. Or Julius Caesar was an emperor, but let's look at the difference between Trajan and Hadrian. They were like back to back.
Who are these guys?
They're Roman emperors.
Okay.
So Trajan expanded the Roman Empire to its furthest extent. So he conquered a bunch of the Persian territory and the Mesopotamian and all that shit. And then Hadrian just established a territory, and it was like 25 years of peace. But we don't really talk a lot about Hadrian's exploits because he didn't really do anything to build except like Hadrian's Wall or whatever. But those are good examples.
There's no glory in peacetime, right?
There's not really any
So-
glory,
price
but
to pay.
unless you build stuff. I think it was Trajan. I think built a column of all the victories and shit that he did, And then there was Hadrian built the wall in England to fight fight off the Scottish tribes that were like crazy strong at that time. But like that's the difference. It's like people are remembered. Like we remember Hadrian because of Hadrian's Wall. We remember Trajan because of the territory he conquered.
Funny enough, Hadrian's Wall is the inspiration for the wall in
Oh really?
In A Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah. Except that I think that one's only like 100 or 200 meters tall. Like the wall is like 700 meters.
Yeah, it's like
I think so.
Yeah, so
obviously it's like a fantasy version.
Yeah. But like what I mean is like we don't really venerate peaceful time-based kings or rulers.
I think the
right?
only winner there in those contexts is the king himself. Because okay, yes, they won't talk about me like being this great warrior king who conquered this and that land, but peace, like you will have inner peace knowing that under your rule,
not too many people,
you were able to like
keep the peace,
people alive, you know, most of the time, and not kill unnecessarily. Cause
so it would be a good learning experience from future kings. But let's look at like I think Joffrey in the like 100 200 years later would be much more, I guess, impactful to Westerosi like history
and
politics than Viserys, because Viserys was king during a time of peace, while Joffrey was a king during a time of war, and he caused that war. So
the war started after. Well,
because of him, because he fucking killed Ned Stark.
He became king at a time of peace, and then caused the war.
Yeah, but it was very untenable because at that point in time there were already suspicions as to
Aaron had died.
John Aaron died mysteriously, and
then Robert Baratheon's killed by a boar.
Like
really?
Like
well,
he got
that was
that was Lancel making his wine super strong.
How do you do that?
Or like
for educational.
He got provided like ridiculously strong alcohol, or like it's like wine that tastes the same, but like its potency is significantly higher. So Robert was absolutely wasted when when the boar like fucked him up. And there's this theory that the boar is the prince that was promised. So, and he was called a boar Ahai. And basically Bran warged into the boar to kill Robert Baratheon to set up the chain of events that would save the world.
It's true. Bran was tripping during that time. He woke up after. Did he wake up before or after the
a boar Ahai? That's the best thing I've heard all day. The bacon that was promised. Last thing I want to just say about Viserys though is that the actor Paddy Considine is easily the one reason why you can even have a discussion about this character. Like I've read the Dance of the Dragons portion of Fire and Blood, and like it's in like Viserys is the biggest departure easily. He like the amount of depth and like additional scenes and like lines of dialogue and just
he carried
behavior like Paddy Considine carried. He got hard carried.
No, he was a great actor.
Yeah,
very good actor.
A lot of it was like because a lot of this is like they've with this show what they're doing is they're filling in the gaps. There's not they're adapting. I think like in the next like I don't know whatever like 3-4 seasons that they do with this cast of characters, they're adapting maybe like I don't know 200 pages worth of content, 200-300 pages worth, if I remember correctly. It's not a lot. That's like that's like one season of Game of Thrones, and they're spreading it over the course of like 3-4 seasons. With Viserys in particular, you don't have this thing in the book about like his obsession with prophecy. You don't see all his struggles to like the struggles that being a fence sitter brings to you emotionally, like the toll it takes.
Yeah.
You don't see this deterioration with the getting cut, getting sick, like amputating his arm, slowly and surely becoming weak and weaker and weaker. You know, you don't see that scene with
But that's what the books lack.
Like the throne with him climbing up. Yeah, well, this one in particular is the one that lacks. Like the rest, I know you're reading a Game of Thrones for the first time. You'll see eventually, like George R. R. Martin loves his flowery romantic language. You'll get there eventually, but not in this.
This feels like more like a history book, like you said.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's
his scene though. I just want to say the last thing I wanted to say about him is his death scene. The actor was saying like he has trouble watching the death scene because it's the picture it's the perfect picture of how he saw his father pass away from cancer.
Jesus.
And I want to say that when I was watching like his last like 2-3 episodes, my grandmother, she was almost 90 years old, but like she moved in with us about like 10 years ago. So she was living with me, and I saw her at like, you know, in all her wisdom, all her intelligence and stuff, you know, like an elegant speech pattern and everything like that. And seeing her like slowly deteriorate like every year until it gets to the point where, you know, they look like ghostly and like staring up at the sky and mumbling things, you know, like just that kind of stuff. Like when I saw it on screen, I had the same impression that the actor had watching his own scene. Like I feel like anybody who's had to watch a wise loved one go from like, you know, like one of the smartest people, you know, to slowly like just withering away.
Yeah.
It was scarily accurate. Like the first time I watched that episode, I cried. Like I rewatched the series. I didn't have that same like gut reaction the first time, but I just wasn't expecting it at all. It blindsided me. I just want to point out like what a fucking accurate performance that was.
They got acclaim for that scene in particular. His physical deterioration got a lot of like attention from the SFX studios departments. They were saying like his physical shape was perfectly done. They to perfectly, like you said.
Yeah, it was jarring, and he's like a fucking fit like 40-something-year-old guy, 50-something-year-old guy, and he looks like a 90-year-old walking corpse.
Yeah,
like,
no.
Like I was wondering
sad.
how much they time skipped. Like, is Allison like 45 by that point?
She bad. That's all I know, bro. I just I just want to say they just keep casting the most attractive people in these shows, like all of them. Like even like I
understand you. They need more.
Listen, if people are allowed to thirst over wife choking Matt Smith, then we're allowed to thirst over
Alicent.
No, just the bobblehead.
Oh.
Okay, sorry. That's it. That's all I want to say about Viserys.
Okay, so
best character.
Next up, we're gonna talk a bit about like Rhaenyra. And do you think that Rhaenyra would have been a good queen, or would be a good queen? We don't know like necessarily how the story goes.
I'll start off by saying yes, because her reluctance to first take the throne makes her a perfect candidate. We were talking about this.
What do you mean by that?
We were talking about this in Gladiator, in our Gladiator podcast, and the reluctance to take power often shows a great control that many leaders lack, especially nowadays. Many leaders are impulsive. Many leaders act out on whims or emotions or for certain gains. But we also saw that when she became queen, and Rhaenys, grandma, I'll call her grandma, said that she's the only one out of the full room of men who want to go to war. She's the only one who's taking it slowly, you know. She's letting it sink in and actually thinking about what to do, because this is like a critical moment. While everyone is ready to chop heads like Matt Smith, but like she's the only one calming them down and actually considering all the options and maybe trying to find a peaceful way. And so that in itself is the first proof as she would be a great leader. But now, considering how the season ended, she's gonna have a Targaryen episode, I find.
Yeah, I mean, that's a question I considered. Like I saw season 1. I finished the season of the show, and then I dove into this. Mm-hmm. So like I'll just give you my thoughts about like what I was thinking before I went through reading, and I'm not saying whether I'm right or wrong either. I could be completely right or wrong here. I'll let you figure it out as you guys watch the rest of the show.
Yeah.
But I think like her initial impulsiveness is her as like a young angsty teen, like gives you the impression like, oh, this is just like another like, you know, like shithead kid who just like, you know, might want the throne out of vanity or something like that, or like, you know, she doesn't want. She doesn't. You know, she wants her kid like once she's named heir, or once there's a challenge at all, like, you know, like for instance, I think the first instance where she actually like cares about being the heir to the Iron Throne is that scene where it's like Aegon's first name day or something.
Yeah.
So they come out of the carriage, and then like Aegon's like one of the high towers there. It wasn't Otto, but one of the high towers there says like Aegon the second of his name. So you don't say the blank of his name or of her name unless that person is heir or is on the throne. So like, there's been other Aegons before.
That's why Aegon the Younger is not Aegon the Third. Third of his name, for example.
Yeah, Aegon the Younger is Aegon the Younger was the one who got like murked by Maegor the Cruel, I think. There was that's Aegon the.
No, because they have another kid.
Point is, there's like a billion Aegons, and there's only like 5 of them.
How many kids does Rhaenyra have with in total?
She has
3
the
bastards.
black hairs and 2 golden heads. I mean golden head, but with
yeah, and she has the 1 miscarriage there as well.
Yeah, that was hard. That was hard to watch.
That was horrible. That was horrible. Even the first like.
The first scene. That's what I wanted to add. We talked about Viserys. He forces his wife. That's like the first episode, and I completely forgot about it. He forced her to, push out the baby and cost her life, and he ends up losing both of them.
Yeah.
And seeing, I think,
that
whole bite his ass at the end of the end of the season. Karma.
I would disagree. I think Rhaenyra is very impulsive. She's too impulsive.
Yeah. Actually, one thing to add about that Viserys thing and his wife. That whole conundrum of like, oh, you have the choice, and then it's mirrored with Daemon later on, right, with Bela, right, and when they're in Pentos, I think, like they're across the sea,
it's
or whatever,
Pentos.
Right, like that whole parallel there. I don't think that was a conundrum presented to him in the book. That's another thing that they brought. Like apparently the actors said like, once I met the actress for
Bela?
Emma Aaron, like Viserys, once he met his wife, like his first wife, like the actress, he was like, that's what clicked, and then we knew instantly
what we're going
to be doing.
She has white hair.
Aaron.
But she has white hair.
She has white hair.
Yeah, she's half.
Oh, she's a half Aaron, half Targaryen.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Makes sense. But you were saying she's too impulsive.
I think she's too impulsive because you see her making a lot of like very bad decisions even when she's an adult. Not even just making bad decisions. It's like she like, for example, she starts banging fucking Daemon when she's an adult, like just like that, whatever. Oh,
bro, both their spouses died and they banged on the beach. Like, come on.
Not just that.
That was romantic.
Yeah, but not only that, but like her impulsive nature, right? Of her wanting to fuck the fucking strong guy.
Yeah, the
Lord
Kingsguard guy. She makes him break his vows, and then she bangs the bastard dude. The strong dude makes the bastards.
Yeah, and she makes the bastards, and then now that's the whole reason why there's a whole like succession crisis in the beginning. So like this whole thing is like,
could they not just have Rhaenyra like jerk off into a cup and then she just spills it in? Like,
they don't have needles, bro. They didn't have needles at the time.
No comments.
I'm just saying. I'm sure there's ways to. You don't.
Well,
need
they said
needles.
They said they tried, but like.
Yeah, I'm sure they actually tried to fuck. I'm saying like I'm sorry, you're not gonna get a gay guy to want to fuck you. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
the math works technically. It could have happened. They just had to try harder.
Literally. So yeah, I think she is very impulsive. But she's too impulsive to be queen. It's like if something pisses her off, she's gonna go all fucking Targaryen mode.
Yeah, what is that in like the first episode? Isn't she like, you have Dragon Rider's father? Like when they're talking about the whole Stepstones thing, right? The war in the Stepstones before they start.
Yeah, she just wanted to go there and spit fire.
Yeah, like for example, like I'm not saying she's unwise because she is wise. She has not wise, but like she's smart and she's good. She would be good for the position. She would be like she'd be like a good queen in terms of her ability to rule because she has a good ability to rule. She has good ideas and stuff. But the problem is she's very impulsive in her character.
Mm-hmm.
But so apart from sleeping with the guys, what other examples do you have?
But sleeping with the guy,
when she flew to Dragonstone, let's say, is a good example of like when, let's say, her decisiveness could be good for ruling. For example, is like
her impulsiveness
when she flies to Dragonstone against her father's will to confront Daemon, right, with the egg that he's gonna give his fake pregnant, Mysaria there, like. See, that's a moment where, like, let's say the grab it by the balls attitude is good. Then there's others where it's like, okay, she escaped into the forest, right? And then if Kristen Cole didn't chase after her, she would have fucking died. She would have gotten murked by that wild boar or whatever.
She was going to the water. She was gonna crash her horse into the little lake, and Kristen came and held the horse back.
She has a lot of reckless, abandoned attitude.
Yeah, and she
Even
she
the
has
thing
a
with
tendency,
Rhaenyra faking his death, even that's risky and impulsive.
she has a tendency to make a lot of enemies, and especially aligning with Daemon, who also has a tendency to make enemies, because they make enemies for two different reasons. Daemon does it because he's rude as fuck. He does not fit for the courtly kind of gestures, right? He doesn't play the Game of Thrones properly.
He's not politically correct. He just spits it out.
I guess you could put it that way. He's not very politically correct, or he's not politically inclined.
Well, he's not a player. He's not really a player of the Game of Thrones.
He doesn't play the Game of Thrones.
He's the king's brother. He's
the Joker. He's the Joker card, if you want to put it that way.
I guess you could say that, but but Rhaenyra, she has a lot of enemies because she wants the throne and she's a woman, right? And that obviously plays a factor in that, in the people not liking her because they feel like maybe she's entitled to it. But also at the same time, like Rhaenyra, because she acts impulsively, she can make sometimes very stupid decisions, like being with the guy, like the strong guy, for example. I understand the idea is that like, yeah, you're trying to have sex with a guy who's gay, and it's very difficult because obviously like, you know,
yeah,
he's not really that interested in that. But like at the same time, you have to be careful with how you deal with that shit.
Like at least if you're gonna sleep with someone else and then pass them off as Laenor's sons, find someone who looks like Laenor.
Yeah.
At least find. Okay.
Yeah, but it's
understandable. It could have done Corlys's brother, Vaemond.
Yeah, it's true. He had another brother.
Yeah, so you could have been like,
yeah. I feel like Vaemond's totally the type who
would snitch.
He totally sleep with white women, but he'll never admit that he sleeps with white women. That's the vibe he gives me. I know, no, because I have proof. I have proof. No, I have a friend who told me he's like that. Like he's like you will never catch me out with a white one. And I was like, why? But what? You're just never even gonna try? And then he's like, oh well. Behind closed doors.
Who cares?
You know what I mean?
Allison points it out, right? She's like, you have one kid who looks like that, okay, but now she's parading around with three of them. Three of them who look fucking nothing like Laenor. But it plays into your thing there, where she makes enemies because of her pride and her entitlement. She thinks like, oh, I'm the heir. I can do whatever the fuck I want. I can fuck who I want. I can have whatever kids I want to have. Like, you know what I mean?
And this is not a diss. It's not a diss.
But it doesn't show that much in her attitude, though.
Here's the thing.
When she's younger,
I do like the fact that she has that multi-dimensional character. Mm-hmm. Like she's not a one-dimensional character. Oh, like she's a woman. She's perfect.
But I did not see that recklessness in her attitude, especially in the young version of her. Like, the recklessness, yes, was there to go try
Even the way she bites off her dragon riding gloves.
What I mean, but is that. How can I say it? She wasn't doing it
the
because
legendary alarm beep. Yes.
She wasn't doing these things because of I'm the heir and I can do everything.
It's
mostly because she wanted to detach herself from being the heir. I felt like she didn't want the throne. That's what I thought. Like
at first, I think.
But the minute there was another claim,
it's like
she got salty.
Because
it's interesting.
It's
like because when you
pushed it more on her, when he brought her down in the cave and told the story and the
prophecy,
that was like more.
I think it might have been. It might have been something to do. It might have had something to do with the fact that her mom died because of they wanted to go onto the Iron Throne, or like he tried to get a son to go onto the Iron Throne. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He was trying so hard to get a son, and then might as well use her. You know?
Yeah.
But in a way, I think for the first part she didn't want it. Then when her father truly explained to her the importance and the gravity of her being on the throne, I think that's when she at least accepts it. But then she accepts it, but she still acts a little bit impulsive, sleeping with this guy and that guy. And I think the biggest mistake was dumping Sir Criston, even though he was,
I mean, what are you gonna do?
No, sorry, bro, come on. He's saying she's completely right. She's the blood of the dragon. She's gonna give up a fucking throne
for some.
But if she truly didn't want it,
Fabian Frankel's kind of.
I get that. But
if she truly didn't want it, she should have gone. You saw Laenor. He was able to give up power and authority. He was gonna be king consort, but he still consort or
Consort.
consort. Okay, he was gonna be king consort, but he still was ready to give it up to live the life that he wanted. And Rhaenyra,
No,
in a
because
way,
here's the thing.
she accepted being
Yeah, but here's the
queen,
thing.
and that's
He wasn't happy about that. It's on his.
I think you guys are also forgetting. She knows about the prophecy. She knows how much her dad bought into it. She thinks that there actually is like some, like I think it's gonna come up in the second season. Because again, this whole prophecy thing is not mentioned in this at all. This is a show exclusive thing. It probably even plays into her son Jace's like.
Jace is the oldest, right?
Yeah, Jace is the oldest one. The one who's flying to Winterfell at the end of the season, I think.
No,
He's flying
Storm's
to
End.
the Eyrie.
No, Jace. No,
Luke's the one who got fucking
Eaten.
Yeah, Luke's the one full of protein for Vagar. That's the
Get some good.
Bro,
target.
that was so short. I was like,
supplements, bro.
I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was watching the show, and I'm there. He's in fucking Storm's End, and I'm like, there's 10 minutes left. Is there another episode that I just didn't see? But then it turns out like, yeah, that's the last episode. I'm like, okay, what the fuck's gonna happen? And then it turns out that Viserys gets eaten.
Chris,
that was
Viserys strong.
Bro, guys, that shot in Storm's End of Vagar's silhouette, and
Oh
then
my
you
God.
slowly realize that it's her because she slowly raises
with
her
the
head.
lightning. When you
Yeah.
see
It
her
kind of
eyes
reminded
and
me
her
of
head.
That's the first time we've seen Storm's End in live action, and because like
It's true, huh? We haven't seen it before.
no, because it was Renly's holdfast in Game of Thrones,
But we never saw
like
it.
we never went there.
Yeah.
It was fucking crazy to see, guys. Like the
I was like,
description in the
wait,
books.
there's
makes
a
it
storm
sound
at
like
Storm's End?
That's why I'm excited to see,
Click it.
because they're not restricting themselves. Storm's End, the way they did it, gives me so much hope for how they're gonna adapt to Winterfell in this show. Because a lot of these places that we saw in the original show, obviously they had started with a much more limited budget than they ended up getting in later seasons. And then at that point, you're not going to break the continuity within your own show.
Of course not.
But here you see, like, let's say even the throne, they expanded how wide the throne is, right? With how, like, the swords are, the seat itself is bigger and spikier. It actually has steps going up to it now. Like, I mean, they had steps before, but it wasn't that high.
I actually prefer this throne because it looks cooler. It looks like it's more of a vanquished enemy. But it looks a bit too messy. I think if
but it actually looks like it was forged by a dragon and this guy getting cocky and putting all his enemy swords in there. Like,
no, but it would have been cooler. It would have been cooler with the.
He just falls, steps on the wrong sword.
he falls to the swords like.
Just like in Disenchantment.
that's how they think Maegor the Cruel died. They think that he fell onto it and slit his wrists and then he just bled out. Yeah, like they found him like this.
Oh no, Daemon.
Daemon, no!
But Chris, I wanted to note something. Like you mentioned, there's 10 minutes left, and Luke just arrives in Storm's End.
Yeah.
And this is like, it's not based on Rhaenyra or whatever. This is how they built the show. I personally have a hard time by using like a certain action to set up, the next season. Because when you think about the traditional Game of Thrones series, the episode 9 would be the big battle. Episode 10 would be the big conclusion of the season. But this season was entirely a straight line without knowing where you were going. And the episode 9 had no big battle except the king's death. Or that wasn't even a battle. It was just...
there wasn't
episode
really
9
a big
was
battle.
Rhaenys coming out of or breaking out of King's Landing with her dragon. That was the only epic thing. But it's not the epicness I want to talk about. It's to use a finale to immediately ensure the next season. I think that's a bit of
like the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Like, cliffhanger is good, but for episode 9, make a cliffhanger episode 9.
But
so
like,
everyone's hyped up
look
for
at
the
it
10.
this way, right? Wait. What episode did Jon Snow die? He died in the last episode of the season, right?
He died in an episode.
Yeah, he died
called
season
Mother's
6, episode
Mercy.
9, episode 10.
No, season 5, episode
10.
I think he got stabbed in episode 9, but then you just don't go to you just don't see the wall in episode 10.
No, he died he was the season finale.
So
I want to Google it now. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, go Google it.
It's episode 9.
Google it.
Because it's a known thing, the episode 9 structure, right? So here, Mother's
So in the meantime,
Mercy.
Maybe I might be wrong though. It might be 9, but it doesn't make sense because I remember like.
No, you're right. That's the one time they did it. It was
But you know what I'm
episode
trying to
10.
say? It's like they use this Luke's death as a hint. What's gonna
But
happen?
you see-
They're gonna build up on it.
but you see, Aemon didn't want to do that.
yeah. That's a
Googled
very
it
interesting
because
element.
I heard them, like you said.
He's like, no, he's not.
Yeah.
No, Vhagar, no. And
The storm apparently, you might know more about this because you're reading it, but the storm hinders with the dragon's capabilities and therefore resets them to faculty. What's the term?
factory reset.
Factory reset, you know. A faculty, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But you know, so that's why the dragons kind of went out of their own way. So Luke's dragon spits fire, and then Vhagar.
Oh, so
loses his-
Luke didn't want.
no.
Luke didn't want Arax to spit fire at Vhagar, and Aemon didn't. Aemon just wanted to scare the shits out of him. Aemon probably just wanted to like
Exactly.
Joker Batman him for the rest of his life, you know, like just
Yeah.
scare the shits out of this kid, but never actually like
Kill him.
hurt, like yeah, never actually like kill him.
Until
you see
it's
the look
time,
on his
yeah.
face. He's like,
Oh fuck.
oh fuck. And
Yeah.
I think what they're gonna do is, it's very interesting what they could do with him. Like, what if he just keeps it to himself that it wasn't intentional?
Or that he never.
You know what I mean?
killed
Like,
him.
yeah. What if he embraces the fact that
He killed.
that like
killed
that like
Viserys.
he killed, and he's like, no, it's like what had to be done kind of thing or something, or like
But he looks way smarter than that though. He's not.
yeah, but he knows that.
Aegon.
But he knows that he can use that as like an image thing, because clearly this guy like
think-
idolizes his uncle, Daemon.
Oh, yeah.
He fucking adores him. It's
Did you
But-
see his
but I think-
face when
but
he
I think
chopped off
he's-
the guy's head? He was
was
looking.
like,
This
"Oh,
is my
yeah."
uncle. Yeah.
Honestly, I thought for before I even watched the show, I saw little like screenshots of Aemond, and I honestly thought he was Daemon. So I was waiting the whole show until Daemon lost his eye,
Oh,
and
no,
then
no, no,
and then I
it's-
realized like, oh no, it's just
I like what they did with his eye though, the sapphire, how they made it look.
But that's in the books. I was
Yeah, that's in the book.
I was gonna say Ewan. Ewan is the name of the actor, but when I
Ewan
was,
McGregor.
no, it's him. Is Ewan Mitchell.
Mm.
Yo, he played in Last Kingdom. He was awesome in that too.
Yeah, all right. I'll give him. I haven't watched.
The guy,
Last
it's
Kingdom.
funny.
He was in Last Kingdom.
Yeah, you watched Last Kingdom.
Yeah,
The guys in an interview. Quick side note: the guys were saying, "Yo, Ewan Mitchell is so good as an actor. One day you're gonna see him getting an Oscar and shit. Like he's so talented." And then what happens a year later? He's one of the biggest shows ever. Even though it's like a side character for now, season
gonna
2
be
is
like
gonna
a-
be him.
He becomes a like a big hitter. I'm not gonna say how, but like it's.
I would suspect he's eventually going to be king.
Oh, I haven't.
He's
read,
eventually
but I'm
gonna be
sure.
king.
And I'm down for that.
He's gonna
honestly.
He's probably gonna get Aegon killed because you can tell he doesn't like Aegon.
Not Aegon. I think he's gonna he's gonna outlive Aegon, of course, but he's gonna get rid of him when it's the most opportune moment.
Exactly, so he's gonna kill him.
So let
So
Aegon.
you think he would go out of his way to kill his brother?
No, on
For
the
sure.
contrary, let Aegon
Yeah,
do all the
that's what you
bad calls. Let Aegon do all the bad calls, so that when the time is right, you can easily brush him off and take this place.
Okay. All right. Cool. I
So
mean,
he's
I
gonna
clearly
play-
have
he's gonna
additional
play-
context. Just I'm
He's
not gonna
like
say anything.
he's like if Daemon played the Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing I can say safely. It's like I think you guys can tell too, just by his demeanor and his speech and how he, even his like little clever. Okay. Here's one thing though: his delivery of the whole 3 strong boys is
Yeah.
so petty. It's so delicious. It's deliciously evil. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. Bro, I smashed the couch, bro. I put my. I was like, "Fuck yeah!" But it was really
He's
satisfying.
like I think he's like my favorite character because he just looks so cool. Because he was literally
He has
like,
a really.
he was literally
looks
the
like
bitch.
handsome
He was-
Squidward, but
he was
blonde.
he was literally the bitch of the group until he got like Vhagar, the biggest dragon
Yeah.
in the world.
Oh, bro, what a sick line! He's like, it's all right, mother. I lost an eye, but I gained a dragon.
Yeah.
And he didn't just gain a dragon; he
got
gained
the
the
dragon.
fucking.
Motherfucking dragon.
He gained the North Korea nukes, baby. Okay,
No, that was
he got them
Viserys.
Jerusalem nukes.
He got he got that's Lucerys' dragon, bro. That motherfucker got munched, bro.
Imagine
Not even fair.
season 3, 4, and they shoot an arrow just like in Game of Thrones. 3 arrows, the Vhagar goes down.
I think Dorne is the only place that has scorpions at that time.
The special,
Scorpions are like those ballista things.
yeah, that we saw
fucking-
with
yeah.
Greyjoy's ship. What was his name? The other Greyjoy.
Yeah.
Euron.
Euron Greyjoy's ship.
Okay.
But
So-
we were talking about. Well, we went far. We were talking about Rhaenyra's impulsiveness, but after that,
Would Daemon have been a good king?
No,
King's hand. I wanted to bring that question.
no.
Talk about Viserys. We were talking about how Viserys was, if he was a good king or not, and having Daemon as his brother, because a king is mostly judged, but yes, how he treats his people, but how he treats his family as well. You know, so having Daemon as a hand or having him as a joker, like you said. You know, in this.
Having him as a jester is just a way of
No, but not like a literal sense,
eliminating
but like
his
a
power.
joker card, the one you send to take care of shit. You know.
Here's the thing: is like you can actually, because there's all the titles that the monarch holds, right? They have like let's say king or queen of the seven kingdoms, protector of the realm, Andal's first man, all that stuff, whatever.
Rhaenyra.
There's been instances where the king or queen has delegated the role of protector of the realm to someone else.
Like a queen regent or someone else.
But the thing
Yeah,
is,
yeah, so
but
the
thing
idea
is
is like-
that would that be smart though? Because
Yeah,
you
just
can
put him
see-
in charge of the military. He gets to flex. He gets to wage whatever
That is
war
not a
he
good
wants.
idea.
You saw what
That's
he
not a
did
good
with
idea.
the
You-
criminals.
He would.
You know
I don't think Daemon would ever betray his brother like that.
But he did.
No,
Any
he probably
betrayals?
would.
No, any
'cause-
betrayals he's done
but you
was
know for a
just out
fact,
of
but
spite.
But you know
That's
for a
all.
fact, as soon as Viserys croaks, he's gonna go for that fucking throne, and he's gonna have enough power to do that.
He has the entire army
He has the
backing
army.
him.
He has the army with him.
It's gonna be like a Julius Caesar moment.
Yeah, it's like so. You remember, like
But the
back.
thing
remember,
is, he
keep in
does
mind-
have genuine feelings for Rhaenyra. So say he got cuffed to Rhaenyra while Viserys is alive, or like they did, and once he has those kids, it's like either way, his kids are gonna be the successors. So he wouldn't give a fuck.
Yeah. Well,
if, like,
in that case, then yeah, that's fine. But until like,
But he wouldn't be a good
unless,
king, bro.
but
He would
unless
suck as king. He would be the worst.
No, I don't see him as a king. As a king's hand, maybe. He
No,
would be
I
better
wouldn't
'cause
say
you'll
as a
be
king.
able to control him more. Not control him in a bad way, but control him to
he's too
better
useful,
guide him. Even
he's
though
too useful as a warrior to be hand of the king. He would be much better as like as you said, protector of the realm, but only if he's betrothed to Rhaenyra first.
Yeah, with her explicitly as heir. Otherwise, yeah, he's way too close to power because he's such a menace. Daemon is such a menace.
I
bro.
still think he's still playing a Game of Thrones, but we're not actually. We can't actually see it. I think he's going to eventually try to.
Well, he's not
to betray-
stupid.
He's eventually going to probably try to betray Rhaenyra.
So Daemon wouldn't have been a good hand of the king, like you said. He's just too much of a good warrior to be kept on the sidelines.
That's what I said, bro.
But like you said, I'm supporting your fact, mate.
Thank you.
So, but where do you put him apart from Protector of the Realm or City Watch? You know, like
But he's a warrior.
Okay.
Literally, when as soon as he heard that Aegon became king, he started planning the defense. One shot. That's his nature.
So you put him
In charge of the military.
only if he's betrothed.
Yeah, but the
Imagine
thing is-
if like let's say Viserys had actually supported Daemon's war in the Stepstones from the jump.
But he was actually going to until Daemon decided to.
Oh my God,
on his
Daemon
terms.
socked that guy. That was fucking great. He's actually kind of scary. I saw this whole thing on Twitter about like
the crab
Daemon.
theater or Daemon.
No, Daemon's scary.
Okay.
Daemon's
Yeah, of course.
actually like I never thought Matt Smith would ever be like
He could go to that depth.
imposing. Yeah, because like in the book, I get the vibe that like like Daemon, like he's badass or whatever. I know. I always had faith that Matt Smith could do that. I guess but
His range of acting. Yeah.
yeah, but
right
like
there.
he's actually like he could be scary. Like when he's choking Rhaenyra
I did not see that coming at all.
at the end. She doesn't look that surprised either. I saw somebody on Twitter trying to say that they're just used to like some
Rough sex.
like they're just really kinky in beds. Like that's just somebody was trying to justify that
But you see that
you
like
just choke Bae.
yeah,
every
but
now
like
and
you
again.
see that like he does actually care about her.
Yeah, he does. In his own fucked up way, he cares about Viserys. He cares about his kids. He cares about like his daughters. He cares about Rhaenyra.
But
He
does
even
he
cares
care-
about Bela.
But
to
does
a
he care about
degree.
Luke and Jace?
I think he cares about
He
Jace.
does.
Like he shows, like he tells him, he's like, come, let me show you the meaning
Of loyalty.
of loyalty, right? And they have that scene, which was like the most Damon scene
Esque.
ever.
Damon-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
You know that scene on the throne was improvised, by the way.
The
Which
crown
one?
falling.
Damon giving
Crone.
the crown to Viserys, like helping him up the stairs. That was a completely improvised scene. And then they said, that's
also-
not that shot though. It's not that take. That take's not the improvised one.
But they said,
It's just
that
they
was so
said,
good,
"We'll
let's
roll
keep
with
it in.
Yeah.
And also, another thing that he improvised, Matt Smith, was announcing Luke's death to Rhaenyra. Apparently, having him just silently pull her aside, whisper in her ears, that was his idea as well. And it had a great impact. At the end was perfect
Yeah.
because you see her like toiling
Like,
from
you
her
see her-
back
And it's actually him being tender a bit.
in a way.
Yeah, like he could have easily broken that news in a way to where it's like.
But it was fucking stupid to send. I'm sorry.
Yes,
It was
but I
fucking
agree.
stupid to send Viserys, who's a fucking kid, to the Baratheons in fucking Storm's End.
Well, they assumed that the Baratheons would stay loyal because of.
But in war, you can't make
Rhaenys'
assumptions like that.
Well, that's the lesson she learned.
But I mean, the kid didn't outdo his duty. Like, he did what he had to do. It's only when the dragons lost their shit that shit went down,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah,
and
but
Viserys
like,
says so earlier in the series, where it's like dragons are a power man never should have trifled with.
exactly.
Right?
I agree, but like at the same time, I think if she could have played her cards a lot better, for sure. Like
Just send a raven, you know. Fuck going there with dragons. You don't need that.
you're
It's a show
sending
force.
you're sending your prince there, and you like chances are other people are there, like
Enemies.
enemies are there probably, trying to make deals with the Baratheons as well, and the Baratheons had a better deal.
True.
They got a better deal. Like,
the Greens had a way better deal. Like they're actually getting someone betrothed into royalty.
yeah.
They were,
And-
whose hand were they offering to the Baratheons? They were offering
Aemon's hand.
Aemon's
Yeah,
hand. That's why he
Aemond
was
went, and then there's this funny thing though in the
The
book
girl
where
called
it's like
him weak.
apparently
Was that it?
it was like a she's like did that boy take your eye or your balls? Like one of them, because basically Boros Baratheon has 4 daughters.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the
Boros
book.
Boros
Baratheon.
Boros Baratheon. And like, so he goes. So Aemon gets there first, and he offers his hand. He tells the Lord, like, okay, I'll marry one of your daughters, like, in return for your fealty. And then he's like, okay, cool. They're like talking about like setting up dates and shit between all the like for Aemon and all the daughters. Then he says like, let me just kiss each of them. Like, so he can get a taste of each, so he can figure out which one he likes.
That is
Right.
like it's Aemond, but that is so Daemon-esque.
Yeah, and then it's like so then he picks one obviously, and then the one of them who didn't get picked was fucking salty. So she's like, and apparently she says it in a very like sweet as silk way. Did he take your eye or your balls, my lord? Like I was on cock like something stupid like that, and then he's like, and then like so then he leaves all huffy puffy, and that so he actually goes like in a rage, but but it's still not like clear that it wasn't deliberate. That it wasn't deliberate that he
kills
Luke's
Luke.
death.
Yeah.
It never strikes anybody as an accident in the books, really. Like most people just assume it's intentional. Aemond plays it that way.
And he's gonna use it to his advantage.
So that's what I'm curious to see is like if going forward, like the fact that they've revealed that at least for the show, it wasn't intentional. How that's gonna play into like the moral complexity of Aemond One Eye, because like that's like a
Is that his actual name? Like I
Aemon
know
the
it's
One-Eyed. Yeah,
the
I
one-eyed
guess-
is this,
they call him Aemond One Eye.
the one-eyed.
Yeah.
okay.
They love their fucking nicknames in this
I would
franchise.
I would love one as well.
Yeah, Commodus the Merciful.
In our modern times.
So I would agree that Daemon will not be a very good king. Like he'd be kind of like Robert. He'd be pretty much exactly like
Bro,
Robert.
he'd be like Stalin. Are you kidding me? Like
He'd be like Robert mixed
Rip-
with
Rip the
It'd be
murderers.
it'd be Robert's indulgence mixed with Joffrey's a bit with Joffrey's like
Insanity.
tyranny.
Yeah. I think with
But he's
Daemon,
sma-
it's
but he's
all
al-
ego.
But I would say he's more like he'd be like okay.
He's not as sadistic as Joffrey.
No.
I think with Daemon, it's literally all ego. I.e., if you harm my ego, I will kill you.
But bro,
So then
you want the
who'd be
biggest proof of what you just said? Him learning of Viserys's departure, but not departure, death, but like that he's coming to help him for the stepstones, and he deciding to go. Okay, fuck, I'm gonna claim this victory for my own. That is the biggest proof there is that
And he easily could've
acts on his
died.
ego, you know.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I had to criticize. Like technically, bro, there's 500 or at least archers shooting at you. Come on, when are you gonna get hit? He was running around everywhere, not avoiding arrows, and
He got hit
he was
a few
rizzing
times.
and then he eventually got hit. I'm like,
he was
finally,
he was
you know?
rizzing the arrows like
He was rizzing the arrows.
giving them the light, the stare.
Oh my god, I can't wait to go on cause like I'm gonna go on TikTok to like your to like your the little edit you made of Viserys and Daemon, which is very good by the way. You guys link here. But you can but I'm gonna go on there and I just can't wait to type in like Daemon Riz and just see what the fuck comes up. His best Riz in the whole series is he's dancing with Laenor's sister, Baela, and like so he's dancing with her, and then he's like, did you know that you're almost as pretty as your brother? Which is like, you know, like it's a joke that like, oh, haha, like,
he's
you know,
Laenor's gay.
metrosexual, like, you know, he take care of appearance or whatever.
Speaking of
like,
Laenor, did you think that Rhaenyra and Daemon should have told Rhaenys that they faked his death? So because she's still salty towards her.
No, because then-
morally, yeah. Pragmatically, no.
Because I know they would say, "Oh, yo, he's my son. He was supposed to be the king with you," but like still.
No, because as soon as they tell him that, fuck off. As soon as they tell Rhaenys that Laenor is alive, then she's gonna want to go see him. But then she's probably gonna tell Corlys, and then Corlys is gonna tell everybody.
Well, I mean, good luck forcing him back in this life. Good luck finding him in wherever he is. You know.
Mhm.
So at least they have the comfort of knowing that he's alive. And one day in the future, he might be useful if he ever shows up again. But at least she loses like they're not her enemy. But coming back to Daemon's battle, like the proof that he acts on his ego, and that was
He easily could have died there, and he knows, and he still did it just out of pride and ego and vanity in his own ability and not accepting
he ain't
help.
no bitch. He ain't no bitch, bruh.
And the only reason he even joined the war on the steps in the Stepstones in the first place is because I think Corlys approached him and asked him for help. So then obviously like he's gonna jump at the opportunity because fuck yeah, war, hell yeah.
That was right after he got berated by his brother. Well,
Yeah.
dragged through the figuratively.
Exactly, and enough time passed for his hair to grow back. He had that stupid little haircut there, I think.
That was for the wedding.
Like an episode.
Yeah, I think that was during the wedding episode that he came with short hair.
Oh wait, yeah, actually, wait, you're right. The haircut is
After the Stepstones.
after the Stepstones.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Go ahead, Chris.
the two questions that I have left. Do you think Alicent loved Viserys? Yes or no?
Yeah, to a degree. Yeah, I think like obviously like it wasn't a relationship that like necessarily she wanted part in at the beginning. Obviously,
she did duty sex at one point.
She did duty sex for sure. And okay, look, I will say, like it is totally weird seeing like you know like his actor like all aged up and like his back looking nasty and all that crap on like a poor like 20-year-old actress. Like it looks fucking rank. But like I'm so glad this show has the balls to show stuff like that because like it makes you completely get like how these some fucked up circumstances. They even made him go on a date with a 12-year-old. Like actually like half
Corlys's that was
Lena.
that was Baela. Daemon eventually married.
Baela or Lena? That was Lena.
Because the whole time.
Oh wait, fuck me! I've been saying the wrong name the whole time.
Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, is that?
I'm
Baela
sorry.
or
It's
is that
Lena. It's Lena.
So Daemon married Lena, who was approached by Viserys via Corlys, who sent her on a date with him to go walk in the park.
Yeah, that was just nasty.
So you were asking if Alicent loved him?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. I think so. But like
She grew
by
to
the
love
end.
him.
Yeah.
Eventually. And I think one of the I really like all the family aspects of the show, and having Daemon help up Viserys was a moment that touched me personally. I also liked when Rhaenyra acknowledges Alicent's hardship and endurance to endure, because having a cripple via experience, well, not cripple, but someone who has physical disabilities or limitations is tough, not only on the person but on the persons around you, their morale.
Big time.
And having Rhaenyra acknowledge and praise her for that is a huge win. I
Like
think,
you could
for
tell, she
Rhaenyra.
hadn't been complimented for that.
And she had to drag him literally through
Yeah,
their
everybody
shit.
everybody just treated her as like, oh, it's your duty. Nobody ever actually stopped to consider what that duty entails.
And that's the
Right.
biggest proof. She could have been like Cersei and let the servants do it, you
And
know?
because what was it? 'Cause that scene where she gives her empathy, isn't it? Where like Rhaenyra's explicitly listing all the things that she would fucking hate doing, and it's all the stuff that Alicent's been stuck doing for the better like over a decade. at
Ever
that
since
point,
her
right?
her
So,
coronation as queen. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
So like
so-
it's
I would
Yeah,
agree. I
definitely
would
good
agree
point.
that Alicent does love her husband because
But it grew. It didn't start off
because
by love.
she eventually she respected his word. Like she was like, no, Rhaenyra's gonna be king. No, Rhaenyra's gonna be queen. Rhaenyra's gonna be queen. She's heir to the throne. But
yeah.
then-
It looked like up until that moment where he was having his his last little fever dream there about the prophecy.
yeah.
That she ended up misinterpreting, which
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about about like
I was gonna
introducing
ask,
that
is
as
that
like
in?
no, nothing about the prophecy is here.
Not even one
Not-
mention.
not a
So he just croaks in the book.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, everything they've done with Viserys is almost, besides a few like acts and maybe a couple lines of dialogue, like a lot of it is, it's them, it's their creative project. Viserys, I think, is like he's like the pinnacle of good adaptation. So you strip nothing away, and all they did was add good stuff about him. Everything that they added to him just made him that much more interesting. Like, I don't know.
It made him a 3-dimensional character, you know?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think him slipping up at the end, slipping up, he was thinking of Rhaenyra when he was saying the prophecy, and it should be Aegon's dream. Don't forget that. And I lost my train of thought. What I was trying to say is that Viserys, in a way, he was thinking about her, but he was on the drugs. Well, the milk of the puppy, and that made him go trippy and, ended up spilling the beans.
Wait,
and
he was on what?
Milk of the poppy.
Which is what? A drug?
Drugs.
What is drugs?
Well, it's like arak. It's like being fucked up on arak, just to cool down your cold. All non-Armenians don't understand, but no, even Mediterranean
It's a
understand.
classic remedy, bro. It's just but milk of the poppy is kind of like it numbs you.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
completely like
Well, that's why he was like he was able to go on back on the throne because he.
The day he refused it.
Yeah.
But you see, in a way, that comes
But
back
it
to the
weakens
question.
you also. It numbs your pain, but it
Weakens you.
physically weakens you. That's why what you see Bobby B say, like, just give me the milk of the puppy and let me die, like, with his like man titty out, like, yeah.
But it comes back to that question someone asked, that the High Towers, did they murder, or were they plotting to remove Viserys? And having them constantly be on the milk of the puppy might be an indicator as to were they actually helping or accelerating.
I don't
his
ever
death.
want to know for sure. I love that it's left up in the air. We'll never know because
I found my thought again.
Yeah,
Having him slip up and Alicent taking that for his final decision is the way to make it seem to keep Alicent on the good side. Because if, like you said in the book, they never mentioned the prophecy, and if it's Alicent's decision to say fuck this, I'm going against his will and putting Aegon, then she immediately flips on the bad side.
It's more like the Green Council's decision, right? So like all the Greens are collected. They kind of made that call without her in both mediums, but like
at least in this way.
But her motivation to actually like continue and how staunchly she supports it or whatever. Because keep in mind, at that point, before Luke's death, no blood's been shed.
Yeah, at that point.
It's the way they phrase it in here is that like it's like a war of like ravens and letters.
It's like a Cold War in a way.
Until Luke's death. Luke's death is the turning point. So yeah,
it's a cataclysm. Then it's like an actual war that's gonna start.
Yeah, so like his death is the catalyst for the and what they're gonna open season 2 with is the most vile thing I think we're ever gonna see on TV.
I don't know, bro. I've watched The Boys and it's pretty vile.
Vile or violent?
Vile.
No, vile, like disgusting. Like you're gonna feel like just me reading it, I felt disgusted.
Is that as disgusted as
morally? No, I'm saying like
going
morally.
Up a guy's dick?
Yeah, no, it's not gross. Like that's visually something disgusting, but like it's like a moral conundrum that is so appalling and so disgusting. I think that even if you're on a side at this point. So at the end of season 1, if you're on like, I don't know, Team Black or you're Team Green, which is what they call like, both sides. Like Rhaenyra's side is the Blacks and Aegon's side is the Greens.
The Blacks.
yeah, that's what they call them. And then so like whether you're with the Blacks or you're with the Greens on that issue, on the issue here of succession, like come the next season, you're not gonna have a side. You'll still have your characters that you like, I'm sure. But there's a lot of flexibility here for like just not having a good side.
Bro,
it's really exciting. I'm curious how they're gonna adapt it.
I'm 100% Team Black, but I only like Aemond from Team Green. Point final.
He's really cool. I even not that I like as in like it's a good person, but Aegon
as a character, Aemond is just
he's interesting.
Yeah,
so he's interesting for sure. Aegon, how they've like turned him into like something like really like gross, but you also like really pity him.
I mean,
He's
I don't
kind of
blame
like
him.
I kind of get like Theon vibes a bit from him, where like Theon, like like he's like Theon was like a piece of shit and he did all those betrayals, but then he got like tortured like 8 times
But
what
that's
all
the thing.
that
He
was
was a
worth.
piece of shit, then got tortured. This guy was just being chill, got abused all his life, let's say, and then
Got his eye removed.
got his eye removed because
And then
he
he
had the
became-
balls.
You're talking about Aemond.
Yeah,
I was
Aemond.
talking about
Aegon.
Aegon, how he's like a
Oh.
piece of shit, but like you
Yeah,
still
that-
can pity him. You know, like you still these like I don't know, maybe it was
I don't
the
pity him
actor's
at all. He
performance,
was
but, like,
he was so happy getting the sword. I don't pity him at all, bro.
I kind
can't
of felt
wait.
bad for him. The guy just wanted to be left alone, and like he looked like completely like disheveled and hobo, and like
But
you know, like
bro.
fucking
He's been
eye-sagging.
sacrificing all his kids in those fighting pits. All the
Pokemon.
bastards. All the ones with the white hair, they all ended up there. Oh, I don't have zero pity for this asshole.
No, I don't sympathize for the guy at all. But like
None.
but the fact that like I don't know,
Stupid.
the fact that somehow they made you feel. I'm not gonna lie, the way they directed it, the way they shot it, like
It's
I
true.
almost felt good about him getting like. I almost felt good for him, like oh, like now he's finally getting vindication. Because I think the only kid that Viserys ever actually showed genuine love to was Rhaenyra. It's clear he didn't really give a shit about the rest of his kids, and he was just pumping them out. So for the sake of having like a
The
secure
house.
legacy.
But I think that's stupid because like the more kids you pump out, then the more there's more of a trouble with the succession line.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
In Game of Thrones.
But then
wrapped up.
again, but then there's also security, right? What if Rhaenyra dies suddenly, and she doesn't have kids?
I mean, like, have 3 kids. Like, 3 kids dying. The gods are against you, you know? You're doing something wrong. Like, 5, 6, and then have another family and this family. And
No,
the-
but Aemon's definitely dope though. Aemon's definitely like
he's
his actor, even,
He's
even
gonna
the
be-
little kid actor, bro. Even the kid when he got his eye, that kid was awesome, bro.
Nah, they nailed it.
The little kid Aemond was
I
fucking
traded an eye.
He's
Amazing.
gonna be
Dragon.
eye-catching.
Ayo.
Anyways, last question. Do you think the parties and hunts that kings and all the nobles hold are useful?
Oh, definitely.
The hunts.
Like the parties and the hunts, are they
The
useful?
feasts. You're talking about the feasts.
Are they useful?
100%.
I mean, I think it's a way to keep, because you got to keep in mind, and you got to keep in mind until recently, all these kingdoms were very much separate, right?
Yeah,
It's only with the conqueror, and we're only like maybe
150 years.
150 years into the reign here. Not even.
Into the
We're
reign era?
we're only 100 something years after the
Since
conquest.
the conquest, yeah.
It's very early. It's not even at 110. The series starts with the old king dies in like 103 or something since the conquering. So and that's when, you know, like he names Viserys his heir or whatever. Like that council happens in 101. Okay, then he dies a couple years
So
later.
how do the years play out? So it's like what's the time?
Okay, let's say the series starts, I think, like
What's
at
the
like
read?
115 or something, or like 120
Like
or something like
115
that.
what?
AC after the conquest.
After
actually good.
conquest.
That's how they do
so
it.
then
It's
there's
AC
BC, there's BC
before conquest.
and AC.
But like, so I think these feasts serve to build some sense of community and jovial, like mutual celebration here, in order to ensure that, like, you know, all these different communities, one, acknowledge, you know, they're all under the same ruler, but it also gives them an opportunity to, like, let's say, you know, like square some beef that they have with each other. A healthy way to do that is through the tourneys, you know,
Yeah,
or
and
through the melees,
Also
or
do
like,
some deals, put together deals, or you know, not only that, but I think one of the things that you have to keep in mind is like a lot of these nobles are used to feasts like that. So if you're a king and you stop doing feasts like that, a lot of the nobles are gonna see like, what the fuck are you doing?
Is he mad?
yeah.
Is he mad? Is he crazy? Like aren't
But
we?
they're
Not,
stupid expensive though, these things. So
Yeah.
if your realm isn't in a prosperous position, it's stupid to do it. Like in season 1 of Game of Thrones, you see Ned being like, "Why are we having a tourney?" And then they're like, "Oh, it's in your honor of being named Hand," and he's just like, "Oh fuck, okay, well what's it gonna cost?" And then he finds
the
out the
books, yeah.
crown is in fucking debt. Like it's like 80
Well, that's
million
because-
coins in debt or something.
yeah, that's because what was it? Littlefinger's like just borrows money. He's so he's terrible as a master of coin.
Well, Littlefinger embezzles money, but he does it in cohort with the Lannisters, I think, so that way the crown can be directly indebted to the Lannisters, because the Lannisters are fucking thirsty for power.
Okay.
You see, and they're wise with their coin. Tywin Lannister in the show here.
Isn't it Jason Lannister?
Jason Lannister's the dude in the armor.
The
So
young-
he's the
one who
Lord of
proposed-
Casterly Rock. Yeah, he's the one who proposed. Tywin's his twin who's on the council.
True. There's another one.
And I think Tywin is the Master of Coin. Is that what he is?
Well, having a Lannister as Master of Coin
is
is
the
pretty
biggest
smart.
win move you can have.
It's a big brain move, because like you're not gonna. Well, is it? You don't know. It might indebt the crown to the Lannisters.
Yeah.
On the first level, it is an advantageous thing to do because you have someone who's
If you have a
already
Lannister
rich
who's
as-
loyal to the king.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But coming
To
back
his credit, I don't think he did anything like. Nobody can. I don't think anybody did anything disloyal to Viserys besides
up
maybe
till
like
now.
Otto.
Daemon.
What about
Otto was just. Well, Viserys was sick of his shit because he was so overtly like manipulative and like gunning it, but like he wasn't outright like betraying Viserys
But
in
Otto,
any way.
yeah, but
It's
Otto,
just that he was overly concerned with his gains. Like something they talk about in international relations is the is relative gains. So absolute gains versus relative gains. So sometimes it's a problem for you if and this is something you can apply, I guess, even to real life, is relative gains is sometimes if let's say you're in an alliance with someone, you're both working towards something, but if you acknowledge that the relative gains that the other person's going to get out of this is significantly less than the gains that you're going to get out of it.
You mean more?
And they're going to be in a more advantageous position than you by the end of it or someday, then you'll just pull out of the alliance entirely to end it. So like that's Viserys. Viserys' pull-out game was strong in that moment.
Coming back on the feasts, I think it all depends on who's the host and what's the intentions. Do you have a healing mindset? Do you want to heal all those, like heal, you know what
Heal
I
the
mean?
wounds.
Heal old wounds. It's a perfect time to do that. Or are you the kind of manipulative type to see who's on your side and who's, because there's a lot of drinks, there's a lot of alcohol, there's a lot of slipping up, you know, some people might say things. So if you're the kind to keep an eye on everyone and pretend, okay, then you know which ones are tight and which ones hate each other. So as a manipulator and a mastermind, it's perfect. But as someone who actually wants to mend old wounds, I think it's quite advantageous in that case too.
I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I was having a great time listening to you guys talk, and I had a fun time talking as well. House of the Dragon is a great show, and if you haven't watched it, I mean, like, I'm sorry.
Whore.
So next week it's going to be a week off. I won't be in town, but the following week is going to be a very special episode. It's probably one of my favorite movies of all time, and we will see about that. Take care, guys, and remember.
About the